Hi, my name is Nefesha. I'm a mosaic artist, musician, blogger, writer, all that good stuff. But today I'm going to be showing how to grout your mosaic. Over the weekend I had one of my first kind of like mosaic and sip parties. I've been doing mosaic workshops for the past few years. I worked in Philadelphia at a community center and worked with youth, and then from there I've been working with different groups all around the area and quite frankly around the country, and it's been an amazing time. So I've been able to teach mosaics a lot. The workshop that I most recently did is a heart mosaic workshop. So everybody pretty much got a chance to do one of these mosaics. It may look different, but they in the end created a heart mosaic. So I'm going to show how to grout this mosaic. Now, one of the key things with grouting is that your mosaic has to sit, the glass has to sit for about 24 hours for it to get solidified. Now this one's been sitting for quite some time now, so it's nice and sturdy. Probably could like pick this up by that little piece there because it's really stuck on there. And so this one is solidified and it's ready to go. Now at my workshop, every person got a little bag. Now in this little bag, this little lunch bag here, it's basically like a grouting kit. Inside of there, you're going to find your cup that you're going to pour your grout into. Inside of that cup, there's grout. Now this grout will cover the entire top of this mosaic. So you get your cup and you get your grout. There's gloves, 2 sets of gloves actually, to make sure you have everything you need, and a spoon. Also, there will be written directions inside of each person's bag. So if you're watching this and you just took my workshop and you are about to grout, you can read the directions also, but you'll be able to see everything in this video as well. Now I have here an extra cup, and that's just a cup of water. Maybe hard to see. It's drinkable. I'm thirsty. Cheers. Anyway, so we got our grout. First thing with grout is put the gloves on. Now I like to put 2 layers of gloves on because sometimes you get sharp edges, and it is very important to protect your fingers. Now my fingers, I play guitar and I make mosaics. Needless to say, my fingertips are like numb and barely there. But for people that are not used to that, you want to make sure you have 2 pairs of gloves on. Really helps with protecting your hands. So get these together. Now if anyone is interested in having their own mosaic party, please let me know. I travel, I do a lot of mosaic workshops, and would love to come and do like birthday parties, just ladies maybe that just want to get together, or guys, and we can make mosaics. This summer I'll be focusing on the hearts most likely. So this grout is like sand and powdery and a little bit messy. So if you want to put an apron on, great. Me, I'm not going to because I'm so used to being messy. What you want to do is pour about, let's see, we'll pour the whole thing into a cup. Alright. Sometimes I do different measurements, but this time we're going to pour the whole bag into the cup. And if you want to like put a mask on when you do this, you can do that. You can see the grout inside of there. The way that this is going to work, you can move that out of the way. With your water, you only want to pour a little bit at a time, and we're going to get it to the point of like natural peanut butter. So it's a little liquidy, a little smooth, but not too thick, okay? You don't want it like chunky peanut butter, but you want it kind of like smooth, like natural peanut butter. And so you'll see here, I'm just going to pour a little bit at a time. Alright, so I got a little bit in there. And then I want to begin to stir with my spoon here. And as I stir, I'll feel little clumps at the bottom. You'll feel where some of it is dry and some of it is not so dry. And so some of it is still sandy. So you want to get it nice and thick. And here you can see where it's still too thick. So we want it a little bit more liquidy. And at the bottom I can really feel clumps at the bottom. So that's just me reaching down to the bottom. It's kind of like sand at the beach that's not all the way wet. So we're going to pour a little bit more in. That's probably enough water in there. And then we're going to mix it up a little bit more. Alright. You only want to pour a little bit of water at a time. I don't use measurements a whole lot. And so you want to like take your time. Kind of like a, you know, my mom can cook. She's an older black woman. Not old, but older. And I always watch her cook and I'm like, where are the directions? And she just kind of knows. And so this is not like cooking, but just to give that metaphor, something like that. This is starting to get more like a natural peanut butter. And just mix it up a little bit more. You really want to get down in there. If you feel clumps at the bottom, which I can still feel, that means that's not all the way mixed in. And it'll really help if you get it all mixed in. So you just keep stirring it up. Stir it up. Little darling, stir it up. Y'all know that song, Bob Marley. Yeah, man. I have a really bad Jamaican accent because I was born in Jersey. South Jersey. I had to make that clear because up in North Jersey, it's a whole different thing. So, anyway, we got this nice and mixed up. Nice and liquidy. It's dripping there. That's about the texture that you want it. Okay, I'm going to turn my spoon so you can kind of see it a little bit more. Where it's kind of falling off of there. That looks great. Alright, so, next step. We're going to make a mess. Like, I remember the first time I did this, I worked at, first time I did a workshop, one of my first workshops, was at a transition home in Philly. And so we were teaching how you can take broken things and make something beautiful, as we see here. And we got to the grouting point, and we took all the grout and we just like dumped it on top of the mosaic, and it looked so beautiful at first, and they're like, oh my goodness, you're destroying it. I like to use this metaphor that sometimes it takes mess for it to become solidified. Sometimes it takes, you see where something looks beautiful and it needs to be grouted. It needs to have that cement in between the crevices, and so it's a beautiful thing. So it may not look so beautiful at first, but it's beautiful. So what I do, I pour all of my grout on top. Since we're dealing with a small circumference here, it's only a 12-inch circumference. And so I just pour all of it on top. If it's bigger mosaic, then I do sections. This one, not so worried about that. And so, even now I can feel little clumps at the bottom of my cup, and that's okay. We'll just get those out there. And if at the end I need more grout, then I'll just, you know, dig down in there. But from the looks of it, we don't need more grout. This should be perfect. So what you want to do, and I'll kind of lift this up so you can see it. Typically, you would just leave it flat like that, but I'm going to lift it up so you can see what it looks like. And you're just going to smear this, literally smearing this all over the top of your mosaic. You want to make sure it gets in between all of the crevices, just lightly smearing. Now, some people, if you want to be really careful, you can take your spoon. I'll show you that with my left hand because it's not so messy. I'm not left-handed, so it's going to be a little bit difficult. But you can kind of smear it with your spoon, which I sometimes do with some mosaics that have sharp ends sticking out. That works also, but for now I'm just going to smear this one here and really get it nice and good in between all of the crevices and on the ends. Don't worry about the wood on the outside there because we're going to paint that. So you just want it to get all over your entire mosaic, nice and smooth, and any little gaps, excuse me, air gaps that you'll see, you just want to move it in the direction that you can see the grout going in between. So if it's like there's a little space, then slide it over that space. If that makes sense. I hope it does. It makes sense in my head. But that doesn't always translate. Anyways, we're going to finish this off. And you'll see some of my mosaics here. This is actually a face that I did. Started off to be Bob Marley's face. Now people kind of say it looks like a little bit of everything, but I love that mosaic. And you can see the grout in between each of the pieces of tile and glass. So this is nice and filled in now. There's a few little air gaps that I see, so I'm just filling those in. Looks good though. Alright, I see another little air gap there. You want to make sure like all of your ends are nice and covered. Now I have this messy chair here, this little stool, and so I'm so used to making a mess in it, but you might want to put down some drop cloth, and when you're done doing what you're doing here and you got all of this on top, there's going to be excess. So we got all of this on top of our mosaic. Now, sorry, a little unorganized here, like I said, but I could drop cloth down on the floor. What I'm going to do is just take the mosaic, all the extra grout that you see here, and I'm just going to let it plop down onto the drop cloth here, just so that we can get that off of there. You don't have to do it this way, but I'm just doing this so you can see it. I would typically just bring it a little bit lower and let it fall right onto there. Alright, so we have a nice filled in mosaic. Alright, we got our grout on there. Again, double check and make sure there's no little air bubbles in there. And then what I'm going to do here, I don't feel like there's any big cuts in my gloves, and so I'm going to take the first layer of gloves off to give myself some dry gloves here. This layer is very wet. Cool, so I got some dry gloves there, and another pair of dry gloves right here. Alright, so now the next step, I like to have t-shirts. These are just pieces of t-shirt, and as the mosaic dries, the grout dries, then I use a piece of the t-shirt to wipe some of the mosaic off. This just sat for like maybe 5 minutes, and it's starting to dry. You can actually see some of the top of it drying. Maybe like around here you can see it starting to dry. So what I do is I just take my little t-shirt material and I begin to wipe some of it off, and you'll begin to see some of the top of the mosaic coming to life. With this step, it's still a little wet, so you don't worry about it getting perfect. This is just like a preliminary wipe. You're just getting some of the excess off of the top. You know, you can shake out your t-shirt a little bit and begin to wipe a little bit more. Shake it out. You want to get, if there's any pieces that are kind of three-dimensional, kind of get around them. With this one I had a few big marbles, and I have one little stone in there. And so I like to work around them, get any of the excess off of there. Shake out my little t-shirt material again. And just, again, getting in between all of those little crevices. Got a little, and just taking some of the dry parts of the t-shirt material, making sure you get to those, some of those crevices. And then wiping around the outside, making sure that that is free of as much grout as possible. And like I said, we're going to paint the outside, so you'll be able to see that, and that'll be nice. That'll be very nice. Okay. Great. Almost done there. So that's starting, you can actually see the heart starting to come in there. I got some grout on the back of here, which is not a big deal. It's easy to get off. You can see the grout coming in there. And we're just wiping some of the grout off of there. You can see the mosaic really coming through now. And it really begins to come to life at this point. It's one of my favorite parts of mosaic making. It can be a little bit difficult, especially when you're doing something like the mosaic back here. This is kind of three-dimensional, and so it's got some pieces that really stick out and some pieces that sit in, and so you really have to work around there. Even in the face here, some of these pieces, the black part sticks out and the mirror sits back. So this is pretty close to being done. I'm going to spend a little bit more time to let it sit, and I'll be back with the finalization of the polishing part. We finished kind of like what I call the grouting part, and now I look at this as it's time to polish. Okay, so I let this sit for quite some time. It was probably about, I was on some video editing, so probably about 20 minutes, 15-20 minutes. And now it's to the point where it's like dusty. It's nice and pasty, dusty, and you can pretty much wipe, and like some of the dirt will come off, and it'll come off on your hand. So I have two things here that I really like to use at this point. After, I'm going to give one wipe with one of my little t-shirt rags. Just cut up t-shirt. But I really like apple cider vinegar. It really gives a nice polish. And or just some Lysol bleach or Windex. Like any of those will work to give the polish that you're looking for. I'll probably do the order of Windex, then apple cider vinegar. I like the apple cider like when I get it nice and clear, and then I just kind of use that to get it really shiny. So, take my little clean t-shirt rag and begin to wipe. And as you see, as I wipe, it really comes through nicely. And you can begin to see all of the mosaic behind the grout. Any 3D points are kind of hard to work around. That's just the reality, and so you just have to work your way around them. I like to do everything else, save the hardest for last type thing. Yeah, so I like to do everything else, and then I come back to that. And as you go, you can really see it begin to come to life. So, working around some of this stuff here. I took my gloves off, just didn't really need them on anymore, but if you have painted nails or you like your hands to be polished nicely, I'd keep the gloves on and put a fresh pair on. My hands are so rough, I'm just so used to it. Doesn't matter anymore. Every once in a while I get my nails done and my friends are like, I didn't know you did your nails. You got your nails done. I'm like, yeah, I like to, but I work with my hands so much, it's like no point. Again, if you're interested in having me come do a workshop with you, I live in the South Jersey, Philadelphia area. I'm looking to going to New York sometime to do some workshops because I have a friend up there that kind of mentioned that she would like to have me come up. You know, but if you're interested in me coming to you, just let me know. My email, I'll put it on there. It's laurenefesha@gmail.com. And I'll have my people get back to you. That's basically me. I ain't got no people yet, but one day. Alright, so it's at a good point right now. So you can see, again, I'm going to wipe the outside of here. This little wood circle, I'll tell you my secret for this because I really like this. It's just from AC Moore, and it's actually, it was supposed to be like a clock. So there's, excuse me, so there's like a little hole in the back. But it works perfect for these circles. I also like to do bigger circles, bigger heart circles that I've done for people's houses, and those ones, they're a little bit more work. But Home Depot has, I'll show you, I have one over here because I'm about to start working on one now. It's a bigger circle. You can see in the comparison. I think this is 17.5 inches in circumference and this one is 12. So you can see a little bit of a difference. So I'll be working on the big one. It's not a commission piece, it's just something I want to work on because when I was making these before, they sold really well. And so if you're interested in one, let me know. I'll hook you up. So, anyway, that's that. Now that this is to the point where we got it nice and polished, you can see the whole mosaic on the outside. You can see there's not grout on the top too much. If you rub your hand across, you will feel the grout. So there's little small specks. It's kind of like being at the shore and there's sand in between your toes. So, what you want to do here, at this point, what I like to do, take the same rag, like this rag should be fine. Although I do have more clean ones, so you can always use a clean one, but this one is barely used. So, I like my bleach or Windex. Right now I don't have Windex. I actually prefer Windex, but just kind of spray a very light amount on top. I don't want too much because any wetness on top of this is going to make the grout wet again. That's not the point. We want it to stay dry. But just enough to polish each tile. So I like to spray that, wipe each one, and in between all of the higher spots, the 3D spots. I call them 3D, I don't even know. I sucked at math and art. I mean math and science when I was little. So you can see it's starting to come along really, really nicely. Just that little bit of spray really gives a nice shine. And you'll begin to see that there's little specks on top of some of the pieces. So this is where the apple cider vinegar comes in. I'm not the biggest fan of the smell of apple cider vinegar, but it works. So that's what we'll use. So with the apple cider vinegar, this time I am going to take a new rag just because that has the bleach on it and that's just too many smells for me. So with the apple cider vinegar, I'd make like a little small thing here. You don't have to use apple cider vinegar on here, but I'd like to just because it really does enhance the aesthetic of like the final look. So I like to just pour a little bit on there, a little bit on top, and literally take these little spots, it smells like pickles, and go over all of it nicely. And it'll dry up pretty quickly, so I'm going to get some more. Little tricks of the trade after you've done mosaics for some time. And I'm sure there's even more tricks that I just don't even know about. So if there are, and you want to add it to the comment part, please do so that I can learn. I'm sure mosaic artists might be on here checking out some techniques and be interested and have some good hints of, well, you should do this or that. And I would love to hear from you and learn so that we can all become the best artists that we possibly can be. I'm not, I was a competitive person at one point in my life as an athlete. I'm not trying to be that anymore. And so I'm all about collaboration and growing together. So from here, it's kind of a matter of letting it sit for a while. And it's pretty much complete. Like, it looks really good. I'm going to paint the outside. I'm going to do that in a second, and I'll show you that process. So, this is what it looks like so far. And I think it's pretty good. Oh, let me make sure it's right. So, to my fellow artists and visual artists and all that, please don't judge me. I'm just using black paint because that's all I have in the house right now. And I cannot go back to the store. I spent the day at the store and at a bunch of stores, and I'm just so tired and just wanted to chill. So I'm gonna use black or black paint for the outside. If I could choose, I'd probably pick a different color, to be honest with you, but that's cool. So this is just a plain like crafting paint that you can get for like $1 at Walmart. That I hate Walmart, but you can get it for $1 there, or any other store, Target, like one of those stores. You can get this crafter's paint and just pick out a color, and it works perfectly good with on the wood. So this for your mosaic. So, and this paintbrush is old, but it works because we're only going to paint around the outside of the mosaic. So I literally will just go around and take my time and paint the outside of this. It really gives a finished look to it, so it's kind of nice to have that. One day I'll put the entire process to one of my mosaics up. I know in places like, I know Norway in particular has what they call slow TV, and you can actually find it on Netflix. It's kind of cool. So you can watch people like crochet or knit or fish, and it literally will be like 12 hours of them just working on their projects. So one day, I don't know if YouTube has a time limit, they probably do, but maybe I'll put up like a full process of like 12 hours of work. That would be fun. I actually like slow TV. Maybe that's a little weird of me, but hey, you like what you like. I've always wanted to go to Norway. freezing cold. No, I had to be there in the summertime. I live in a very quiet spot in Jersey, but right now they're cutting down trees outside. So it's that noise in the background. So this is almost done. I'm almost reaching the other end. I'll let this dry for a little bit. You see the outside of this is black, and it really gives it a finished look. And I'm gonna let it dry a little bit, and I'll be right back. From my heart to yours, I want to say thank you for watching this video. Thank you for taking the time out. I hope that you learned something, learned more about mosaics and the process that it takes to grout. Thank you to every participant that came to my last art workshop. I'm looking forward to doing more. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you can get updates for more videos like this. If you'd like to learn something new about mosaics, please comment below, and I'll be sure to make a video to help you out. And just thank you again, and I look forward to connecting with you all and creating more resources for people to create their own amazing art. Shalom.